What's going on, guys? CrustyKs here from the Go Boys Network. Back to talk about some college basketball. Took the day off for the Friday slate. It was a small slate. Didn't really like a whole lot, so just figured better not to force it. This Saturday slate, absolutely massive. Things like 149 games. So then we're going to talk about 5 of them. 5 that, in my opinion, are probably some of the best watches in terms of if you're just trying to watch, because you're a fan. Or, like I said, even 5 games that I feel there's a pretty good edge to be had in the betting market. So, without further ado, let's jump right into it. The first one here, Louisville traveling to Pitt. Pitt laying 4.5 at home. For me here, I really like Pittsburgh in the spot, laying the 4.5 points. It's not even so much that I think the line is fat or telling or anything like that. It's the matchup for me. So you look at Louisville, obviously we know they're a volume 3 team. And when you look at Pitt, what do? Well, they defend the 3 extremely well. They actually, overall, are just a strong defense. And coming off a loss to Duke, which, come on, we all expected it. I like the bounce back at home. And then plus you get Louisville, who's been rolling as of late. Definitely has impressed. They beat North Carolina handedly. They beat Virginia by, I think, like 20, if I'm not mistaken. And then they just beat Clemson. So some pretty big wins here over this last, week or so for Louisville. And now I want to fade them. So traveling into Pitt, tough place to play. I think they lose this one. I think the Pitt wins this one relatively easily, truthfully. I wouldn't be surprised if they win by 10 plus. This just feels like a good spot for the Pitt defense to kind of flex a bit. And I'm not really sold on Louisville defensively as a team. A lot of their success has been because they faced some teams who've had off shooting nights rather than them like shutting teams down. So I will back Pitt to pick up a big win here against Louisville in this one. Next one we're going to talk about here. This is actually an official play for me. It's Kansas traveling Cincinnati. Cincinnati minus 1.5. That's what the spread's sitting at. For me here, I'm rolling with Cincinnati on the money line. So this is a gross play, and I'm sure that a lot of people look at this and you see Kansas City, or no, not Kansas City. You see Kansas at plus money or a pick 'em basically, and it's enticing to a lot of people because obviously it's Kansas and it's a team that everybody knows. You look at Cincinnati; they've lost 3 straight conference games, and truthfully, none of them have been particularly close. So at this point, I think a lot of people are out on Cincy. This is a team that I was pretty high on coming into the season. They were actually my pick to win the Big 12. So they've got some work to do, still plenty of time to correct it. And what better spot than to pick up a win against, probably the best team in the conference. Cincinnati, despite 3 losses in conference play, still top 30 per KenPom, which in my opinion is a testament to just how good this team actually is. They are elite defensively, offensively, however you look at it, both sides of the ball. And, they've just ran into some tough matchups. Baylor plays an extremely similar style to them, but almost like the cracked out version. So it was just a brutal spot. They didn't shoot very well, and Baylor shot really well. And so Baylor was just able to, widen the gap and eventually take that game over. You look at the way Cincinnati's built with Bendago in the middle. I think he has something for Hunter Dickinson. Hunter Dickinson's not exactly a physical post guy. So I think Bendago can limit him. And then KJ Adams, he's going to likely see Dylan Mitchell. Dylan Mitchell, obviously, from Texas, a plus defender, in my opinion. So, just another guy who really solidifies the defense for the Cincinnati team. What it comes down to for me here is Cincinnati's ability to limit transition offense. One of the best in the country. And so you look at Kansas, and if you watch them play, when they get out and run and they score quick baskets, early on the shot clock, it looks good. Where they've struggled is the half-court offense. It just looks a little... there's no flow. I don't know if it's just because they're trying to get it to Dickinson or what it may be, but the offense just doesn't flow in the half-court the way that you're used to seeing Bill Self offenses flow. And I think if Cincinnati can get them to play their half-court offense, which they should be able to, because as I mentioned, one of the best defense in the country at limiting transition points, I think Cincinnati wins this game. So I will be on Cincinnati on the money line here, minus 110. If it happens to get juiced by the time this is played, I really don't think I get too juiced because I think Kansas will attract enough attention to keep it pretty playable. But if it does, I would take Cincinnati up to minus 3. Another one I really want to talk about here, Alabama traveling Texas A&M. So Alabama minus 2.5 on the road. A&M has won, I believe it's 8 straight and covered in 8 straight. Absolutely rolling. And Alabama, not too shabby either. They've covered 4 straight games. I believe won 5 straight, if I'm not mistaken. So both teams rolling. What kind of stuck out to me here was you see this game, and what do we know about A&M? They're a team doesn't shoot the ball particularly well. A ton of offensive rebounding, a lot of second chance points. We've talked about it, a few times. They're going to beat you just on shot volume alone, because they're going to shoot more times than you. But for me, what kind of caught my attention with this one, the total is at 160.5. That's not an A&M total. I know there's a Bama tax, but this total is high. Like, you look at it at A&M, totals typically in the 140s, and I mean, for me, I thought, okay, Alabama taking on Texas A&M, maybe like a 151, like a low 150s. To see this at 160.5, to me, that's pretty indicative of what they think is going to happen here and what I think is going to happen here. And I think Alabama absolutely rolls in this spot. Whether Wade Taylor plays or not, I really don't care. This is a tough matchup for A&M. Alabama's been extremely good rebounding this season. Should be able to negate a lot of the stuff that Texas A&M likes to do. And in terms of shooting efficiency, I mean, we all know Alabama is a far more efficient offense. And Texas A&M has struggled with three ball this year in terms of giving it up. So you're going to see an Alabama team that likes to shoot volume threes. This just sounds like a bad spot for A&M, even on their home floor. I like Alabama minus 2.5 here. Another we can talk about here, Iowa State traveling to Texas Tech. Texas Tech, a 1.5 point favorite at home. I know this is the unranked home fave versus the ranked road team, but as I've talked to you guys about before, it has to make sense for me basketball brain-wise, and I just don't see it with this one. Texas Tech offensively been one of the most frustrating teams to watch in all of college basketball. Quite frankly, even though Iowa State, obviously away from Ames, it's a bit of a different situation. The defense is still elite and defense travels, and I'm kind of calling fake sharp here. I think Iowa State's the right side. I'll be on Iowa State plus the 1.5 or just on the money line. I think they win this game. JT Toppin has come back from injury. I think he's played either 2 or 3 games, but he's been a foul machine since coming back from injury. I don't know if anybody's watched. I think he's had more fouls than rebounds in whatever many games it's been, 2 or 3. Just not himself. And now you're going to play an Iowa State team who we all know Jefferson in the middle, a big physical presence. Probably going to have JT Toppin in some awkward spots. And just as a whole, I really like the way this Iowa State team is operating this season. They brought in they have some guys who can get them some buckets as opposed to years past where the offense kind of struggled, even though the defense was elite. Now the offense considerably better. Keyshawn Gilbert, just one of those guys who can go get you a bucket at any time. So I like this Iowa State team. I think they went on the road in Lubbock in a tough place to play. I think you're getting a lot of people on this Texas Tech team. So I mean, if you want to wait, you might get a better number with Iowa State because, like I said, this unranked home fave, there's a good chance people are going to steam it towards Texas Tech just because of the system. But I think Iowa State's the right side here. Give me Iowa State plus the 1.5. Last one we're going to talk about. I can't get it pulled up on my thing, so I'm going to have to go off of what I have in my head. So the last one we're going to talk about here, Villanova traveling to St. John's. St. John's, 7.5 point favorites at home. Actually, I think they're playing this at MSG, if I'm not mistaken. Villanova coming off that monster win over UConn. I mean, not a monster, but a big win for the program. Probably the biggest win for their head coach, probably his whole career. So this is a spot, obviously, where like most people look to fade. And I'm definitely one of those people who would look to fade them in this spot. My issue and my hang up with this one is you look at the way these teams play offense, play basketball, the way they like to score, and St. John's is a team that loves to work inside, get in the paint, get to the rim. They have a lot of guys who are really good at getting to the basket. But Villanova, one of the best teams in the country at denying points at the rim. I believe even just against twos in general, they're like 313th in point distribution. I would have the exact numbers, like I said, if I could get my iPad to work, but it's not working. So what I settled on here was I want to take the under. I'm not a big total guy, but I like the under in this game. Like I said, I can't give you guys the number because my stuff will not load for some reason. But I like the under. And like I said, for me, it boils down to the fact that I do think St. John's is the right side. I think if you take St. John's minus 7.5, you're probably going to win somehow, some way. I think it does get there. But for me, I just couldn't personally get there because of the way these teams score points, the way these teams play defense. It's just a tough matchup for both teams, and I think it's an under. This is a Big East game. It's a classic Big East matchup, in my opinion, and I think we see a bit of a rock fight with St. John's trying to get to the rim and not being able to, And on the other side, Villanova looking to shoot the three. MSG, not a place that either of these teams are used to playing, really. I mean, St. John's more than Villanova. And I think we see them struggle, especially early. And a lot of times when they struggle early, it just gets them so far off the pace, you're just not going to be able to get to this total. So give me the under here. I'm not a big totals guy, so I'm sure it's probably chalked. But we're going to give it a go. That does conclude the games I want to talk about, though. Like I said, this slate's massive. If you guys have any questions about any of their games, feel free to drop them in the comments. Or if you're in the Discord, feel free to reach out to me. I'll try to answer however many questions I can. I enjoy doing this. Hopefully we can cash, make some money. I think my last couple videos have been a little rough. But what can you do? It's the name of the game sometimes. As always, you can get all my official plays at goldboys.com. If you have a gambling problem, don't worry, you're a gambler. Thank you guys.